everyone, I am Stacey Adams and welcome to a Dream 11 VPL5 T10 team pre. When you mention the word preeminence as it relates to a team in this tournament, one comes to mind, the Soufriere Hikers. 4 times finalists, 3 times champions, looking to do 4 in a row this year. They have a new coach, same captain, however, less than half of this champion squad are returning players. I have with me cricket pundit Alan Cruikshank and Kenroy Martin. Introduce yourself, guys. Don't be shy.
Good afternoon, or good day, or good night, whenever you watch this video, to everyone. And, looking forward to a very nice tournament. Cricket always here in VPL5, Kenroy.
Hey, good morning, good afternoon, good night, wherever you are. Welcome to VPL5. This is a preview. We just here discussing the teams. We are hoping to have you join us during the tournament. And we look forward for a very exciting one here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
Let's have a look at the squad briefly, guys. We have Desron Maloney, captain. We have Ryan Williams, Dylan Douglas, Jahil Walters, Otney Lewis. Mark Dale has been replaced by Jonathan Carter. I know you remember that name from the draft, but Mark Dale replaced by Jonathan Carter. Larry Edward, Jeremy Haywood, O.J. Matthews, Andre Thomas, Ornell Thomas, Andre Hunt, Jawain Adams, and Adrian Caesar. So that's the squad for the Soufriere Hikers. Now over to my exports. What do you make of this team compared to last year, the champions from last year?
Well, what I would say is that the team, it's quite a different team. They will have different leadership in terms of their support staff. We know that the late great Irvin Morricone, he played a very vital role in this team's performance over the years. And of course, he is more than a coach to most of these players, more like a mentor as well. And I'm sure that he will be missed. So it'll be interesting to see how they deal with that tragedy and to see how they can put that behind them and move forward in this tournament. But the team has a lot of experience. Of course, Captain Maloney is there. And Dylan Douglas is back, Jair Walters, Otney Lewis. So a lot of the key players who have done the bulk of the heavy lifting for them in the last tournament have returned. And so it will be interesting to see how they go around this time, generally.
Well, Hikers, to me, remain the same Hikers, with only missing, as you said before, is the coach, Irvin Morricone. What will be key for them in this tournament is the way that they approach it. Morricone's style is different to Mr. Stapleton's. So a team plays as well as the coach and how well the captain needs them as well. Maloney has been leading them for a couple of tournaments, all the tournaments really. So he would have an idea as to how he wants his team to play. So that would be key for them. Their key players are still there and they are champions for 3 times in a row. So they know how to do it. So I think that they are pretty much a very good team for this tournament and nothing much missing from them more than they need to come together as a team that they normally do.
A question the viewers might have is can we expect the same sort of dominance from the Soufriere Hikers in VPL5 that we have grown accustomed to in previous editions? Now we sat down and we came up with a best 11 for the team. Alex, I'll allow you to tell me what the bowling will look like for this team.
Well, we have unlikely 11 based on what we deem collectively to be the best 11. We had our talks before. And I will start at the number 6 position actually, where we have Otney Lewis, who has played the role of an all-rounder, especially in VPL3. And then Andre Hunt and Jeremy Haywood, the off-spinner. Larry Edward, so they have gotten Larry Edward, who is, of course, St. Lucian, Windward Islands player, left-arm spinner. And he has opened the bowling for the Rangers in previous tournaments. So we would expect that he will be joining Otney Lewis at the top to open the bowling. They have not usually used the medium pace bowlers in that role. And so it is likely, if they go according to what they have done in the past, that Ryan Williams will bowl more in the middle and at the end. Now, Adrian Caesar, who is a young bowler as well, he played for Explorers in a previous edition. It would be good to see how he goes, young, medium pacer, tall, will get bounce if there's bounce on the pitch. And so it should be an interesting tournament for them. But they also have, outside of the main bowlers, as you would say, you have Dylan Douglas, who has done a lot of bowling in the previous editions and has taken several wickets almost 30 wickets, I think. And Jonathan Carter, new acquisition. Carter is from Barbados, and we would know from his games with the West Indies and Barbados that he favors himself as a medium baser. And I'm thinking that it is very likely that he will also get some overs in this tournament.
All right. Well, we should have mentioned where Williams he had moved in the tournament last year. He had 13 of them. Basically, what I witnessed last year is when he came into the tournament is when they started sort of winning games with him coming through there for him and picking up wickets. He had best figures of 4 for 7 in tournament. So very good from Ryan Williams. And over to you, Ken Roy. What kind of fans expect from the batting for the Soufriere Hikers this year?
Well, Soufriere Hikers have always had 4 top batters, and they're very heavy up top. They're heavily dependent on those batters. Maloney, Douglas, Lewis, and now there's Carter in the middle. So it would be very important as to how they go about it. I think that they would use their top 4 as they normally do, but they would have to use Carter in some specific situations if it requires them to. They would depend on skipper to lead them. And we have Carter who can play many different roles. He's very prolific at the top. He can bat in the middle, whatever situation comes in. So they would depend on the top 4 as usual. They would play the same cricket, attacking cricket. That's what they play. That's what they're best at. And I don't think they would change it. The batting would remain the same. Douglas, who is very destructive, he would play his role as usual. And it's always a team that you would have fighting right into the end. That is how Hikers play the cricket.
Indeed, so indeed. When you look at that leaderboard last year, the Hikers players, they were basically dominating the leaderboard. You had Ryan Williams, as we mentioned earlier. He had 13 wickets, most wickets in the tournament last year. You had Calvin Hodge, who unfortunately won't be a part of the tournament this year. He had 290 runs, most runs in the tournament. A lot of Soufriere Hikers players. And rounding out that top three for most runs, you had Gideon Pope. With 222 runs, and he is now the captain of the Strikers. So a giant hole to be filled in. Over 500 runs between these two men. None of them will be a part of the Hikers team this year. So our question, who can be most impactful for the Soufriere Hikers this year? Now, for me, I selected Dylan Douglas. It's very hard to look past the man with the most runs in the history of the VPL tournament so far. He has 921 runs. We know he's really good with the ball. Sometimes he has 28 wickets. The history of VPL tournaments, and he's a brilliant fielder. For me, I think he's their most dependable player. Alan said, if you could just give me some insights as to who you think will make the most impact for the Soufriere Hikers this year.
Well, to keep it interesting, because I know, most people will say Dylan and you full stop there. Let's leave it at that. But to keep it interesting, I think that one of their heroes has been Otney Lewis. And opening the bowling, he has been miserly. He's been one of the most economical bowlers in all editions of the VPL. I think only Larry Edward has a lower economy rate than he does. So that's very important. What they have done over the years is that they have stifled opposition teams in the beginning of the innings by building up those miserly overs in the early part of the innings and causing them to take a lot of risks against the remaining bowlers from the middle to late overs. And Otneil, he has 31 wickets so far in the VPL after 41 matches. His best figures are 2 for 6 of 2 overs. And he has an economy rate of less than 7 across the VPL, which is excellent. I mean, if you could keep a team to under 70, then they're doing excellent work. And in VPL3, he actually scored 163 runs. That's when they played against the Explorers in the final. Can I? Yeah. They played against the Explorers in the final. And, the Explorers really were in a very good position until the innings that he played in the final. And so, can go a little bit under the radar, but I think that he's one to watch. And if he has a good tournament for them, then they should put them in good stead.
All right, Nelson, what about you, Ken Roy?
Well, my co-commentator mentioned Lewis. I had Lewis in mind as well. But there's Jonathan Carter. The introduction of Jonathan Carter into the team, that to me is a replacement for Hodge, who was the chief scorer for their team in the last edition. So he is multi-talented. He would be given different tasks in this tournament. So he could be a very impactful player for them. during this tournament coming into this team.
Yes, I noticed he had a right smile when you mentioned Jonathan and Kaza earlier when we were talking about the team. So do you see him as an opener in his tournament? Where do you think they'll use him in tournament?
Well, it depends on the situation. It depends on the situation which Hikers find themselves. They have been doing very well with Maloney at the top. If it calls for him to be at the top, to steady the batting, or if they're having problems up front, losing all the wickets, you might have that happen. But I think Carter would do much better in the middle, steadying things up. If you have to play a cameo, he comes in. If he has to play through the innings, he can do that as well. So it depends on the situation and its circumstances that Carter would be used.
Yeah, Larry Edwards also said this team, so he's the other overseas player.
Yeah.
As I mentioned before, he's a Windward Islands left-arm spinner. He plays in the longer format before the game, but he also plays in the shorter format. Very tight bowler, doesn't give them a lot of air, but has very good control and has been very restrictive in his spells so far in the VPL. So let's see what he offers this time around, playing under a new shirt.
All right, guys, I'm going to stir the pot here a little bit. I don't want to seem controversial.
Well, if you stir in the pot, it has to be controversial.
What expected finish in this tournament? Where do you see the Hikers ending up? April 23rd. Are they lifting the trophy, or is some other team lifting the trophy? Where do you see them finishing in this tournament?
Hikers is a winning team. They know how to win. They know how to play under pressure. They do their best when they're under pressure. I see Hikers probably in the first 4 or so, but it's dependent on the momentum going into the tournament. If they have a good start, if they continue playing the cricket that they are accustomed to play, they would be able to hold that trophy for a 4th time. But it depends on how the tournament goes for them.
So just gone. Where do you see them ending up?
Top 4.
Top 4.
Okay.
What about you, Adam?
I would say that, this is always a very difficult thing to do at the beginning of the tournament before a ball has been bowled. I would generally, reserve my opinions until probably around now 2, and I have seen the action and see how the players are gelling. But based on what we have on paper, I will say that I expect them to at least get to the playoffs.
All right, well said. I mean, something that you mentioned earlier was that you coached, of course, Urban Warren, rest his soul. He'll definitely be missed. So it is if they continue with the same strategies that they have done in previous editions. So that'll be something to look forward to in this tournament from the Soufriere Hikers.
Well, it has worked for them in three editions. I don't think they would come and change it now. Yes, they're missing the coach, but the key players are still there. And they would use that strategy coming into this tournament as well. Unless it fails them, then they would have to revert to something else.
And Stacey, something that we can't forget is the 12th man. This is a team that I think is most well-loved among the public. So the 12th man of the crowd really, makes a big difference for them, especially as they go later in the tournament and the crowds get larger. It tends to G them up just a little bit more. So we have to also bear that in mind. Yeah. And that should be factored in as well in terms of the impact that it may have on their performance.
Yeah, and I got a tip, but I've heard that their t-shirts are selling quickly.
Of course. We know that they're the most popular team. Sure.
All right, well, that brings us to the end of our BPL team preview for the Soufriere Hikers. Do join us on the 10th of April to the 23rd for exciting action in the VPL5. Thank you for tuning in.